Leland, so pretty big deal. Breaking news happening right now on rush hour.
A huge deal that Republicans control the House in the larger sense. Probably the more surprising deal is, number one, that we are saying this now at 5:30 Central, 6:30 Eastern on Tuesday, November 15th. That is a week minus about 3 hours of when we thought we were going to say this. We thought this would be over Tuesday at 9 p.m. It shows you how much harder of a time Republicans have had. Right now, it's 14 seats, I think, left to go, 218 to 203. You end up with 220, 222 for Republicans, 210, 215, something like that for Democrats. This is nowhere near the majority that Republicans wanted. And I think both Bob Cusack and Scott made some great points when they talked about how difficult it is to manage a very, very narrow majority. Nancy Pelosi figured this out. Obviously, Chuck Schumer figured this out in the Senate the past couple of years. And Republicans will have a hard time. Now, granted, they don't really have to pass much in the way of legislation. They can still be obstructionist to President Biden's agenda. But nevertheless, the infighting within the Republican caucus is something that Democrats are going to try and exploit. And we've already seen a number of cable news channels really try to exploit that for their own political ends.
Leland, I know you like to run through the numbers. Scott Tranter ran us through them just a few moments ago. But maybe what surprises you most about this win for Republicans, apart from the fact that, as you said, a week later, we are now making this announcement?
Just so how close this has become. For a couple of days, there was a very real possibility that Democrats kept control of the House. And the statistic that I think is pretty interesting is the reason it took so long is so many of the toss-ups were really toss-ups. Of the toss-ups, there were only 5 members of the House, of 32 or so seats, that we rated as toss-ups. There were 5 Republicans who were endorsed by President Trump. All but one of them lost. And this is another number to keep in mind, this +9, -9. These are the pickups and losses. There was a district in Washington State that was rated almost a sure Republican district. Joe Kent was the Republican nominee, a very, very, very Trumpy Republican. He lost to a Democrat in what was considered a safe Republican seat. And I think, we think about Colorado's 3rd congressional district that we haven't called yet. It's still leaning Republican. That's the Lauren Boebert district. No one thought it was possible that Lauren Boebert was even going to have a real challenger. Yet she did, and it is still very, very close there. Another die-in-the-wool MAGA Republican who's having a hard time in what should have been a safe seat. And I think what we're surprisingly seeing here is not necessarily, and we're going to dig into this on the show later, it's not necessarily to take from these election results, wow, people were really happy with President Biden. In fact, voters' exit polls show that, very low approval ratings of the president. It's not that they were really happy with the Democratic agenda or what's happening with the economy or inflation or gas prices or even Democratic focus on climate change and other things and social justice issues. It's a real repudiation and rejection of candidates who closely align themselves with Donald Trump. New Hampshire's another place we saw that as well.
All right, Leland, if we can pull up that map. Okay, yeah, I just want to keep focusing on that map there. So, okay, let's take a look at the map. Lots of red on the map there. We have a bit of blue on the edges, as tends to be usual. We have now a Democratic-controlled Senate. We have a Republican-controlled House. As Bob Cusack just told us, we have Kevin McCarthy, a Republican, President Biden, a Democrat. He says they have zero relationship. What does this mean at this point for the state of politics here in America? What does this say?
Well, it could mean very good things. Something about the map that Chris Russell, my executive producer, and I were talking about. If you look at this map, it seems to the naked eye, almost entirely red. As you point out, save the coast areas. What's fascinating, because congressional districts roughly represent equal populations, equal population red, equal population blue, but shockingly more land red and shockingly more population density blue. Just something to always keep in mind when you look at these maps. But look, there's a very real possibility that a red House of Representatives and a blue White House and Senate can make for great government and sort of for great American prosperity.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.